Welcome back to Retirement Solutions for All Ages. I'm your host, Ruth, the retirement mortgage expert at Nexa Mortgage. In a recent episode, we talked about Medicare. Today, we are talking about Social Security. I'm pleased to have a special guest to cover this topic. Marcia Mantell, for over 30 years, has helped the country's foremost financial services firms, advisors, and consumers increase their knowledge of complex retirement concepts. She has a remarkable ability to translate those concepts into everyday language that educates and motivates real people just like you to take the right steps to achieve the retirement they desire. As an author featured in the Wall Street Journal, please welcome Marcia Mantell.
Thank you so much for inviting me to join you today. I'm super excited to talk about retirement solutions.
Yeah, we're recording this midway through November, and everyone is starting to think, okay, what's going to go on my taxes this year? And, how am I going to pay for my, homeowner's insurance and next year's health insurance? And when you're looking at retirement and maybe haven't gotten there yet, what don't you know?
Oh, there could be a thing or two that we don't know. Yeah, it's retirement is a really complex subject, right? I mean, on the surface, it's sort of what we all aim for. Like, oh, one day I'm going to retire. And then you get into your 50s and you think, well, in your 30s, I have kids in their 30s going, retirement, that's like a million years away. Then your 50s, it's like, whoa, that happened fast. Now it's, maybe not that far away. And you hit 60, and it's like, oh my gosh, what is this thing called retirement that I've been marching toward for 40 years? And it gets pretty complicated once you start to layer in the reality that, and it's something that I think so many people have not made this connection. When you stop working, which by 60, we all want to stop working. We're tired. We're tired of the politics. We're tired of the day-to-day grind. We're tired of people telling us what to do. I'm ready to stop. And then you go, oh, my paycheck will stop. Now what? How do I pay for stuff? And that realization is pretty startling, I find, for most people. As well as what am I going to do with all this free time I've wanted? And, there's a lot to this whole new era that we're relatively unprepared for, much as we all want it.
Right. My husband retired last year, and
Oh,
he is anxiously waiting to hit 62 years old to get Social Security. And, we go onto the website and it's like, oh,
mhm.
this is what you get for then versus, if you
Later.
wait until 70 or, any age in between.
Yeah.
And he wants to get it now, which I'm all for that. I retired about almost 10 years ago now, but then I unretired about, 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And so when you're looking at Social Security, there's a difference between if you're employed versus not employed. So walk us through that. If
Yes.
one person is unemployed and the other isn't, what sort of things might we want to be aware of when it comes to Social Security?
Sure. Well, congratulations on both your husband retiring and you fake retiring, we'll call it. Yeah, I love that you retired. Yeah, but I came back to work. Um, there's a lot of considerations when thinking really about when to claim Social Security. And one of the biggest pieces of advice I have is you are making one of the most impactful financial decisions in your early 60s that you will ever make. And it will dog you into your 80s and 90s. So if you decide wrong, we'll call it wrong, or ineffectively in your at 60 or 62 or 65, you're going to live with that decision. for 20, 25, 30 years. And we sometimes don't spend enough time trying to figure out really the optimal claiming because there is such long-term implications. One of the things, and I'll come back to your actual question, but a funny little thing, just a couple of weeks ago, the Social Security's annual cost of living adjustment came out. It's 2.8% more for beneficiaries starting in January. Every single year when that COLA comes out, everybody's mad. It's like, only 2.8%. That's a terribly low number. How can we live on only a 2.8% increase? Well, when you start with a much smaller initial base benefit, and then you have a little COLA, then it's just a little increase. And that's why everybody's mad. So, to answer your question a little more directly, what does one think about? Well, as an individual former worker, you do want to look at the difference in how much monthly income you'll receive from this really important benefit at 62 and at your full retirement age, which, so your husband, he must
He was
be,
born in 64.
okay, so 67 is his full retirement age. Those 5 years are a really big deal because he's getting a full 30% cut in his optimal calculated benefit if he claims at 62. Now, there are some reasons to claim at 62. You're super sick, you have cancer, you have a chronic illness. The odds of you living even 20 years is very, very small. Okay, then claiming at 62 is a good idea. Or you need the money. I mean, this early access is there because people really need to be able to pay for food and keep the lights on and pay the rent. So there are reasons to. But what I will say and caution everyone, if you think the reason is because Social Security is going bankrupt, that is not a reason to claim. Social Security is not going bankrupt, and we'll come back to that momentarily. So you
Let's
can claim early.
let's
But
go back to
go ahead.
explaining to the consumer that the year you were born depends on the age of full
Of your
retirement.
full
So
retirement. Yeah, that's a great question. Great point. We're all sort of anchored on this age of 65. Like at 65, we're retired, we enter Medicare, and we get our full Social Security benefits. Not so. Back in 1983, the last time Social Security was going bankrupt, Congress put in amendments to change our full retirement age. And full retirement age just means the age you are deemed to be a retired person, and therefore you can get your full benefit without any monthly income cuts. Because it's now moved from 65, it was 66 for certain birth years, and then 66 in 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, etc. Right? It was like, oh my God, it was killing us, these increments. But anyone born in 1960 or later, like me, your husband, my husband, 67 is your full retirement age. If you claim at any month before you reach 67, you will get a reduction in your benefit permanently throughout the rest of your entire retirement. And that's a big deal because if you claim at 62, but you're supposed to claim at 67, how are you going to make up that 30% cut in this benefit? Okay, you got $10 million on the side, you're fine. But if you don't, I mean, it's knowing. It's knowing that there is a real consequence to claiming early. People are going to do what they're going to do, but I like for them to be informed. And that's one of the biggest pieces. And sometimes when you look at your statement, the statements are interesting. They show a graph. It starts at 62 and goes every year up until age 70 to show you how much income you would expect. What some people think that graph is showing that at 62 you'll get $1,000, and at 63 you'll get 1,200, and at 64 you'll get 1,500. Nay, nay, nay. It is. They're showing you the point, the age in which you claim. That's your starting amount, your lock-in amount, and it's only from there that you'll get cost of living increases. So it's not a step up until 70. You actually have to wait to get this
Right.
benefit until that age. So, yeah, it can be a little bit confusing, a little bit misunderstood, but yeah, it
So
shows you
let's
just your entry.
talk about spouses, one working, one not working.
Hmm. Okay. Spouses do get a spousal benefit if they don't have their own work record. So let's go back to 1935 when Social Security was created in Congress, mostly throughout American manufacturing and American workforce. It was he who worked and she who stayed home with the children. So just kind of have your mindset there. What Congress said back then was, well, he's the worker, he's going to get a benefit based on his working wage history. But for her, the wife was at home with the kids. She was also contributing to the economic success of the household and the country. She should also get a benefit. And so they decided, the men in Congress at the time, that she should get half of his age 65 benefit. Now, of course, if I'd been in Congress, I would have said women should get twice of his benefit, but I wasn't born yet. So at home moms got half of his. And then if he dies first, which back in the 1930s and 40s and 50s, that was really typically the case. He, had these really tough jobs. The men died first. Then she would step into his benefit as a surviving spouse and get a higher benefit. Fast forward, women work now, and we have our own benefits. We're earning our own wages, our own self-employment income. We're working. So we are also earning our own benefit from Social Security. However, a lot of women, they have the popcorn careers, right? We're in, we're out, we fake retire, and then we come back to work. So we might have a bunch of zeros on our work record, and Social Security uses your highest 35 years of work history of your earnings. So you might have some zeros in there. So when we get our calculated benefit, it might not be equal to the at-home mom's, half of his. So in that case, we get a spousal top-up. We always get our own benefit first. Say it's $800. We will get our $800. But my husband is Dan. If his benefit is $4,000, I'm entitled to $2,000. So if my own benefit isn't at least $2,000, it's only $800, I will get a spousal top up of $1,200 so that I get the same equivalent as an at-home mom. Now, on the other hand, if my career was bigger than that, Dan's getting 4,000, I'm getting 3,000, then I'm getting 3,000. So spouses are interesting, and it doesn't have to be she's the lower earner, by the way. We got lots of women today out earning their husbands. So it could be that the husband is getting a spousal top up. So it's gender agnostic, but I use the traditional because
Right.
that's the law was set and it's usually easier to follow. But we are entitled to at least a certain amount of income. Now, let's say the lower earning spouse, is going to get something based on the higher earning spouse's benefit. When the higher earner claims early, the lower earning spouse isn't penalized yet if they claim at their own full retirement age. But if that lower earner also claims early, there's a full on lowering of her benefit as well. So it's a lot. It's a lot of consideration and nuance in the law and who gets how much and when and what if he claimed first or what if she claimed first. So each person's situation is pretty unique. And it also depends on what else do you have? Do you have a pension that's going to kick in also at 62 or at 65? Or are you still working? Back to the work question. When you're working and under full retirement age, you will not get your full benefit paid to you because you're not retired. You're working. And this year, the earnings limit roughly is $23,000. So if you earn less than $23,000 and you're age 63 and you claim Social Security, you'll get your $23,000 or less from work and you'll get your Social Security reduced benefit. However, if you earn more than $23,000, Let's say you earn $90,000. You can still claim Social Security, you just won't get any money. Because you
Right.
have way outpaced the acceptable, I call it the hobby limit. It's not really work, it's tiny part-time work, or you have a hobby that you're getting some income from.
Or
So
you're
if you
working
have
at
that,
Starbucks to get the health
or
insurance.
the health benefits, right? Because there are a lot of combinations of work and claiming. But yeah, it's there are many steps to consider before deciding to claim. Because claiming
Hmm.
is almost always irrevocable.
Yeah. Well, I think you sort of touched on the situation if a spouse passes away. Let's talk divorce. Gray divorce is really on the upswing since COVID. I personally had a client who was divorcing at age 80, and
Really?
I was just waiting to find out that his wife was 24 years old or something like that. No, she was 82. They'd been married for what,
Like
50
40,
years?
50 years?
And now they're divorcing. And it's like, okay, well. So that and another client of mine, we talked a little bit before we started the recording. Um, when I was going through her application, they're asking about all the different residents, and she's like, wow, they're taking me through memory lane. That was husband number 4. And I'm like, how many husbands have you had?
Some of us collect, collectibles. Others of us collect spouses. It's okay. Yeah, so that's very funny. And I am shocked about the 80-year-olds, right? Like, what would be so bad after all these decades that you couldn't just, have two different bedrooms and two different bathrooms? I don't know. But to each his own. Um, Divorce rules. The general rules are that when you get a divorce, you may be eligible to claim benefits on your ex-spouse. But the rules are you first had to have been married 10 consecutive years or longer. With your 80-year-olds, not a problem. They check that hurdle off. Yeah, they've made the 10 years or longer. Then you have to be divorced for 2 years or longer, or you were both claiming. So nothing's going to change in the 80-year-old's situation. He'll keep getting his own benefit. She'll keep getting her benefit, and they buy their separate homes. Um, you also each had to be 62 or older before either of you could claim. Check. So they've met all the rules. And it's so interesting when it's the older age gray divorce, shall we call it. Nothing much is going to change for them. Your other colleague, friend, client with the 4 marriages, the hardest thing there is to meet the 10-year rule, unless you're
Mm.
quite old. So, I mean, really, you sort of line up your 4 husbands, right? It's like, okay, so with John, oh, we were only married 3 years back in the 70s. Okay, you can't claim on John, nor can he claim on you, and you wouldn't know it anyway. Husband number 2, Charlie. Oh, we were married for 12 years. All right, let's keep him in reserve for a minute. Number 3, Stan, 8.5 years. Not 10. And then is she currently married?
No,
Okay.
widowed,
And so, say again.
widowed.
Oh, I was going to come to that. Widowed from husband number 4 or husband number 2?
Number 2.
Ah, all right. And let's say, so husband number 4, let's say she was also married to for 10 years or longer. She, in this case, has two viable candidates for claiming. And it will depend on her age. She still has to be 60 or old, 60 or older to claim a surviving spouse benefit, 62 or older to claim a worker or a spouse benefit. So there is a little bit earlier access on the deceased ex-spouse. So you can see this, I love this case. It's very complex
Yeah.
because we have to literally look at all 4 men and see who might she be eligible to claim on. Then I literally lay out a timeline starting at 60 going until 70 because she may also have worked. And so she has her own benefit as well. So she's a surviving ex-spouse from Charlie, number two. She's a divorced spouse from Dan, number four. She has her own work record. And when you lay out the options based on each person, it becomes clear when you would claim a survivor benefit, if you're even eligible for a spousal benefit, ex spouse, and how your work record will play into the mix because you personally get your highest benefit. Every worker, we all get our highest benefit at age 70. So after full retirement age, you get 8% per year more in bonus money for the rest of your retirement, but you got to wait till 70 to get all 24%. So we have to lay it all out and see what will work for her. But she is eligible to claim as a surviving spouse on number two, might have some spousal, ex spousal benefits on number four, and has her own record. So it gets infinitely complicated when you have multiple X's to claim on.
So, you wrote a wonderful book to help people through this. But as we both know, every situation is unique. Who does somebody go to help with all of this? I mean, I can't imagine that walking into a Social Security office is going to get this in depth with them.
No, the Social Security agents are great and they're really well trained on very specific things. They can tell you that if you walk in today, and let's say she's eligible on two fronts, survivor benefits and her own from her surviving ex spouse, and number four is out of the mix. They can tell her that today, if you're going to claim, would get more money claiming on your survivor benefits than on your own benefits. And so someone sitting there takes that sort of as advice, like, oh, I should claim my survivor benefits. But Social Security doesn't look forward to say, oh, shoot, she's only 63. She really should take her own reduced benefits now because her best benefit ever will be at full retirement age getting a surviving spouse benefit. So all Social Security can do is look at where you are at today. That's their job. They do a good job of it. It doesn't help you with a strategy, though, in determining where you're going to get the most benefit by the time you are either full retirement age or 70. So who do you go to? Well, that's a good question. You want to seek the advice from a retirement income financial advisor, someone who is trained in the Social Security strategies, as well as can put all the pieces together in your entire income source possibilities. You really can't make Social Security claiming decisions in a vacuum because you've got big tax considerations that are happening. If you end up, bumping yourself into a new tax bracket because you're working and earning, nobody's happy about that. Or did you bump yourself out of some of these new benefits or deductions coming for 2025, 6, 7, and 8 that came as part of HR1, the new budget bill? You have to look at a lot of moving parts before you make a decision and your age and what your income needs are. So it's not every financial advisor who does this. A lot of financial advisors are really expert in investment planning and building wealth for you, the accumulation side of the mountain. You need to find a retirement income financial advisor who's really good at helping you navigate safely down the mountain. And you look for designations like CFP or RMA. I have the Retirement Management Advisor designation certification. There's RICP is another one, and there's another one that I'm forgetting now, another retirement income focused advisor. But ask them, if you're going to meet with an advisor, you need to ask them, are you an expert in Social Security claiming strategies?
And
So
would you want the same person that's doing your investment and getting you these incredible returns on your portfolio and go to somebody else that it's like, okay, he just wants to keep, using your money to increase, but you need a different person to,
Distribution.
yeah.
That's a good question, Ruth. It's complicated because some people feel very vested in their advisor who got them over the 30 years to this, pile of gold. But if they don't have the expertise in how to move you down the mountain, and they don't have a team member. Some of the most successful advisor shops that I work with, they have an accumulation expert and they have an income expert. So you work together because you still need, as you're retiring at 62, 65, 70, you got a 30-year outlook still. Now, we're not all going to get 30 years into retirement, but a lot of us will. That's a really long term investment cycle. So you still need investing and growth and equity investing, but you also need income and tax management and Social Security claiming strategies. So if your current advisor doesn't have a team member who has that expertise, and if the accumulation advisor is not an income advisor, you do need to switch.
Okay.
Would be my best consideration. But you have to interview the people.
Right.
You don't just say, I'm done with, Sally over there. I'm going to go work with Charlotte over there. It really has to be a good fit for you.
Hmm. What sort of interview questions would you advise somebody to ask?
I ask things like, I thought I had a list, but then I couldn't find it. But I ask for, based on how I want to be as an investor and with my money, I ask things like, how involved can I be in my money? Like, am I a totally hands-off person and I really want that person to just take it over? I don't love that particular philosophy, especially for women. Like, come on, girls, let's get in the game here. But how involved can I be? Are you a fiduciary? So, do you take my best interests as the number one priority, not yours? How do you work with people? How do you communicate? I think communication is really important. So is it going to be an occasional email or can I call you? Who do I call if I have questions? Is there someone else in your office? And then I want to know about their process for how do you develop a comprehensive retirement income plan?
Hmm.
And that's really a key phrase. It's not words I just threw out there. I mean, you need a retirement income plan. I talk about it in terms of a 30-year cash flow. I want to see every single year, starting in 2026, how much am I going to spend? Where's that money coming from? What are the tax implications? You don't need to do the taxes, but you need to know if I'm going to jump a bracket or if I'm going to hit IRMA, the additional upcharges in Medicare because I have too much income, and make sure you understand, at least ask the questions of what you're going to get in terms of reports and in terms of access to the advisor. So those are the kinds of questions I ask, as well as what do you know about Social Security? Like, let's not forget our key question here. Like, if Dan dies, my husband, can you help me decide what I should do?
Yeah, I'm hoping my next interview candidate is able to talk on this as well. We were talking yesterday, a couple of days ago, um, and I didn't realize that there was a clawback on Medicare if you made too much money 2 years in advance. I knew about, I have clients that, you know, are really in dire straits and they need assistance, from Medicare. And I knew that if they put their children as owners of the house, that they could claw back 5 years. What I didn't know is that if you made too much money 2 years ago, your
Yes.
benefits are lower, you're penalized.
Yeah, you have this big upcharge, this IRMA upcharge. Yeah, that's a really good point. So the way Medicare Part B premiums are determined, so Social Security will calculate for all of us every year that we're in Medicare, your Part B premium, you start paying 25% of the total premium. That's our share as consumers, as beneficiaries. However, if your income is even $1 higher than the ranges that CMS will issue shortly, this year in 2025, it's if you're married filing jointly and have adjusted gross income over $212,000 or $106,000 if you're an individual filer, $1 over, and you meet Irma, and she's not a nice girl. You now start to pay a higher percentage of the overall premium. And people are shocked by that because it's 2 years in arrears.
Right.
Because that's the data Social Security has. When they're right now, literally, well, now the government's reopened, thank goodness, because all the seniors need to know how much they'll be getting in their Social Security checks and how much they'll be paying for Part B in 2026. So Social Security will, talk to the IRS and get your latest tax returns. Well, the returns you filed in April in 25 are for 2024's income. And that's why it's 2 years in arrears. Well, 2024, you might have been working and making a boatload of money, but then you retired this year. And all of a sudden you get a much higher Part B premium than you expected. But there are cases and situations you appeal that. If it's the year that you retired, you can ask Social Security to go back and take a new look at that because you're no longer working and making $215,000.
Gotcha.
You are now expecting to only have $100,000. So there are some ways around it a little bit. You have to make an effort, but you can do it.
Right.
But yeah, that is a big old surprise. That's a nasty one.
Well, finally, let's have you tell us a little bit about your Wall Street Journal praise book, cookbook, which
Yes.
I think is a great concept.
Thank you. Well, thanks for asking. It was a total surprise. So I work a lot with financial advisors and helping them with their clients and their Social Security and Medicare strategies. I also work directly with consumers. One of the advisors I work with happened to get a call from a Wall Street Journal reporter who said, "Hey, what would you recommend, or what do you recommend your clients read to get ready for retirement?" And he recommended the cookbook, and it's called Cooking Up Your Retirement Plan. And God love her, the journalist included mine as one of the 5 books to read when you're getting ready for retirement. And this is not a heavy lift read. This is set up like a cookbook. It's a discussion guide. Like, what should you talk about? Because how do you retire? Like, I know how you quit your job, but how do you retire? What do you do? So it's discussion guides and then worksheets so that you can start to map out what you're going to do, where your priorities are. You're going to have a winery. I love it. All the people who say, "Oh, I'm going to retire and I'm going to start an organic farm, or I'm going to start a winery." Do you know how hard farming is? It is super hard as a 30-year-old. You're going to do that in your 60s? Really? So it's fun. It's meant for you to be able to sit down at your kitchen table and talk to your husband or your kids or your best friend and map this stuff out and then assemble all the stuff, all that you spend, all that you have. Because we got to see if that'll work together.
Right.
Yeah, that was really fun. I got an article, a copy of it from the advisor, and his name was in there and my name was like, what? It was a lot of fun.
Congratulations. That's fabulous. That's really wonderful.
You.
Thank you for joining us on Retirement Solutions for All Ages. If this episode sparked new insight for you, please leave us a review, share it with a friend who might benefit from these strategies, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future insights. Until next time, I'm Ruth, the retirement mortgage expert, helping you master your retirement because you want to plan before it's too late.